I'm still doing real estate, yeah. And it is, not too bad, it's been,
Yeah, California still doesn't like that.
people just been, we do a lot, like, we have to go show them, but once I show them, we do a lot online after that. Yeah, we don't have to meet a whole lot like we do. And then they don't even get in the car with us anymore. They trail us to the property. So, yeah.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it's that fun.
Yeah. It is.
I'm glad you're doing good.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing this.
It's good to see you too.
I'm glad you're doing it. Everybody good?
Good, you know, I was telling David, we had early on, we had one of, I think it was a false positive, one of our boys was, Lou was, tested positive. Of course, we all quarantined and did all that, but he never had the symptoms. But the reason he works for medical supply was travel. And, of course, he's early on, you know, they don't want you to get back to work, you have to have another test negative. So his quarantine will be even longer, because we don't get the test first.
Yeah, we were interested, older son's middle daughter did an internship in Maine for summer. And somewhere in there, she had she had a long weekend, thought about flying home. She figured out that she would rather, she got in quarantine for 14 days, that she came back, well, she could go back to work. She didn't
The Gathering of Eagles. Oh, wow.
When they were in the corner.
Hello, Roy. How are you?
Is that like the timeout corner?
Exactly. Can you go through there?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm doing okay. Mary, I should say.
I think you got enough devices there, don't you?
You know, I just a phone in the back. Gotta keep it
I got
charged.
mine at the back.
Gotta keep it charged.
That's right. So that's why all your businesses come from it.
That's what, you know, nobody even calls the office phone
I know,
anymore.
that's the way it is. I got an office phone too, nobody never told me. And I was just telling my niece, I said, I used to have an iPad, but I do everything on the phone now.
I left the steps now.
Oh, he's coming in right now. Did anybody sign up to speak?
No, no, sir.
You hanging in there okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, suppose. Really?
What kind of trouble you in?
You know, if that was in the timeout corner, can you believe it?
No.
Does it bring back the old memories of having sick at home?
You know, except about the crazy state of the world.
Good morning.
Sorry about being a little late.
Present. That's good.
Morning. Well, let's see. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the Environmental Management Commission, August 14th meeting to order. And our first item is to consider the meeting minutes from the meeting of June 12th, 2020. These have been circulated to the other commission members. Do I have a motion regarding the minutes?
Move to adopt the minutes of the June 12, 2020 commission meeting as circulated.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor of accepting the minutes, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. All right, that motion is passed. Need to sign it? Okay. Now, our next item is a report from the ADM Director, Mr. LaFleur.
With your indulgence, I have removed my mask so I can be heard and won't fog up my glasses.
Well, we won't call the Capitol Police.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome to all those present for the fifth and final meeting of the Alabama Environmental Management Commission for fiscal year 2020. As you know, the department is comprised of 5 divisions plus our Office of General Counsel. Past reports have repeatedly addressed the activities of our air, water, and land divisions. Today's report will primarily focus on our Field Operations Division. At a future commission meeting, I plan to focus on the remaining division, which is our Permits and Services Division. Today, we will highlight the major functions of field operations and update you on some of the current issues involving that organization. Field Operations is the largest division in terms of the number of personnel. This reflects both the diversity and of its responsibilities and the extensive support it provides to other divisions. The Field Operations Division is responsible for oversight of our field offices where most of the inspections and sampling take place, emergency response to environmental events. Field Operations operates our laboratory facilities that analyze wastewater from NPDES facilities, drinking water, and fish tissue samples. The division oversees ambient air and water quality testing and monitoring. And Field Operations also administers the ADEM Coastal Program, as well as the Animal and Concentrated Animal Feeding Operations Program. We will cover each of these areas of responsibility, beginning with field offices. The department has field offices in Decatur, Birmingham, Montgomery, which is next door to our main office here, and in Mobile. Our Coastal Program office, as you can see here, is in temporary commercial office rental space about 9 miles from our field office in Mobile. The field offices each have lab facilities with varying capabilities depending on local program needs, sample hold time requirements, availability of services from sister field offices, equipment redundancy, and similar considerations. I've been reporting for several years on activities to upgrade the outdated field offices in Birmingham and Mobile. In Birmingham, a phase 1 upgrade of office area for 25 personnel was completed in July of 2018. The Phase 2 upgrade of our outdated laboratory facilities is underway with an anticipated completion this month. In Mobile, we are in the midst of replacing with a single new facility the woefully inadequate space at 2 separate locations housing the 33 personnel in our field office and the coastal program. The department obtained a $5.9 million Restore Act grant for the construction of the new facility in Mobile. In June, we purchased a 4-acre property for the consolidated operations near the geographic center of our current as well as our projected future workload. The department retained an architect-engineer consortium and design work is well underway. The schedule calls for construction to commence in early 2021 with a completion date in April of 22. These upgrades will meet the department's physical needs well into the future. As has been stated on numerous occasions, inspections is the most important element of our strategy to obtain compliance with environmental permits. Field operations is the boots on the ground that does most of those inspections. There are a number of types of inspections of regulated industries. NPDES facilities are inspected for wastewater treatment plants, industrial and mining facilities, construction and stormwater activities, and concentrated animal feeding operations. Field office personnel also inspect municipal solid waste landfills, construction and demolition landfills, and industrial landfills. Field office personnel also inspect underground storage tanks located primarily at gasoline stations. Looking at the rates of inspections, which once again is our key compliance tool, the Field Operations Division performs nearly 12,000 facility inspections or observations per year. This rate is about 3.5 times EPA work plan requirements. In the case of construction stormwater, the rate of inspections is about 4.5 times what EPA requires. EPA evaluates or audits the quality of the NPDES inspections performed. The audits review our processes, procedures, and equipment. Since 2015, EPA has audited the Montgomery, Birmingham, and Decatur field offices inspection programs. All 3 have achieved EPA's highest ranking. Next, we'll look at emergency response activities. The types of emergency response situations responded to range from a railway, waterway, or highway hazardous materials carrier accident. You see a train wreck in this photo. Fortunately, we don't have too many of those. To chemical spills or fires, to tornado or hurricane destruction, to an oil spill off the Alabama coast. Each year, approximately 50 emergencies with a serious environmental element occur in Alabama requiring a response from ADEM. Field Operations is responsible for responding. In addition to their other duties, there are 48 individuals trained in emergency response distributed among our 4 field office locations. Emergency personnel and any necessary backup personnel are available 24/7. Moving on to laboratory and related responsibilities. Our laboratories analyze samples taken from regulated entities to determine compliance with permit conditions. These include samples collected by field personnel from NPDES facilities, the municipal, industrial, mining, and construction operations noted a few moments ago, samples from drinking water facilities, although most are analyzed by outside labs. Our labs also analyze fish tissue samples collected by field personnel to assist in the development of fish consumption advisories. Additionally, the labs analyze chemical, biological, and other air and water data collected by field personnel to monitor ambient air quality and monitor water quality, including the coastal program. We begin with NPDES facilities samples analyzed. In 1972, the Federal Clean Water Act created the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, known as NPDES. It limits the discharge of pollutants into waters of the nation and the state. ADEM was delegated the authority to administer the NPDES program in Alabama. NPDES permitted facilities must regularly sample wastewater discharges to assure they are complying with the conditions in permits issued by the department. Qualified outside laboratories analyze those samples. The department receives lab results electronically in the form of discharge monitoring reports. The categories of contaminants subject to permit limitations and therefore sampled and tested include pathogens, nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, organic and inorganic chemicals, metals, and bacteria. Here you see one of our chemists at work. Field operations labs also process approximately 1,000 samples per year taken by our field personnel from NPDES facilities. Outside labs account for the bulk of the samples tested from NPDES regulated entities. Next, drinking water laboratory work. The regulation of drinking water falls under the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act that ADEM has been delegated authority to administer in Alabama. ADEM is responsible for making sure the water from the approximately 580 public drinking water systems in Alabama is safe to drink. 89 individual contaminants are regulated, falling into the categories of organic chemicals, inorganic chemicals, microbes, and radionuclides. There are more than 100,000 analyses done annually on samples from those 580 public drinking water systems. The vast majority of the samples are processed outside of ADEM labs with the results reported to ADEM. Our labs audit all outside laboratories in the state of Alabama, providing analysis of drinking water in Alabama. EPA does proficiency testing of our drinking water chemists and our lab, including our audits of the outside laboratories. Every year, each chemist must correctly determine an unknown concentration of more than 60 metals, inorganic chemicals, organic chemicals, pesticides, and herbicides. That's like taking your college final exam every year. The drinking water lab receives a comprehensive audit every 3 years. The ADEM Central Lab maintains its certification as the main primary state drinking water laboratory for the state of Alabama. The Field Operations Division works closely with the Alabama Department of Public Health to keep the public informed on the safe consumption levels for fish from Alabama waters. Annually, the Field Operations Division obtains fish tissue from water bodies around the state and analyzes the tissue for various contaminants. The results are reported to the Alabama Department of Public Health. ADPH then develops fish consumption advisories, which, as the name implies, recommends limits on the number of meals of that fish species caught in a given locale an individual should consume. Contaminants our laboratories test for include pesticides, herbicides, metals, and other chemicals. Annually, our field personnel sample and our labs analyze approximately 500 fish from 46 sites around the state. There are a few noteworthy departmental innovations in the fish tissue area. Most often, mercury is the reason for fish consumption advisories. Field Operations recently implemented a procedure to take a small tissue plug for a mercury analysis that allows the fish to be released with no permanent harm and saves time and effort for field operations personnel. Fish tissue samples collected by the Field Operations Division are now tested by ADPH for the presence of per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances, or PFAS, a family of unregulated chemicals of emerging concern. And the department has created an interactive fish consumption advisory map on our website. Field Operations carries on two major environmental monitoring programs: ambient air quality monitoring and ambient water quality monitoring. The ambient air quality monitoring activities keep tabs on the quality of the air we all breathe. The contaminants monitored by Field Operations are ozone, SO2, fine particles PM2.5 and PM10, and lead. There are 87 air monitors at 32 locations in Alabama. ADEM Field Operations operates 34 of the monitors in 17 locations. The Jefferson County Health Department and the City of Huntsville operate the others under programs that predated the Federal Clean Air Act and the creation of ADEM. EPA audits confirm that ADEM air data collection activities meet all requirements for environmental decision-making, including setting permit limits. The audits also confirm that there is continuing progress toward becoming a model program. Field Operations has begun an innovative program to optimize air data collection from off-site air monitors by converting from analog to digital communication systems. This speeds data flow and requires fewer field visits. As has been reported previously, all parts of Alabama have continued to be in attainment with national ambient air quality standards since 2015. The ambient water quality monitoring activity obtains water samples and other data to assess the health of rivers, creeks, streams, and other water bodies in Alabama. The types of data collected and analyzed include lab analysis of chemicals present in water samples to assess water quality, and biological data that includes fish community surveys, as you see in this photograph, macroinvertebrate surveys, that's bugs, snails, crayfish, and others without backbones, surveys of periphyton, which is primarily algae that grows on underwater surfaces. Field Operations oversees the 349 ambient water quality monitoring stations around Alabama. Annually, the division conducts approximately 2,500 station visits, takes more than 72,000 surface water measurements, and performs approximately 33,000 lab analyses on approximately 10,000 samples collected each year. In 2019, EPA completed what is known as a critical elements evaluation of our water quality monitoring program. It analyzes how well water quality data is linked to decision-making in such things as permit limits. It specifically singled out our customized AlloWater data system for special recognition. Our system has been adopted by numerous other states. Following its evaluation, EPA assigned the Water Quality Monitoring Program the highest classification attainable. It is one of only 5 programs in the entire nation with that classification. As a result of the evaluation, 3 individuals from our Field Operations Division are now nationally recognized as certified experts in species identification and classification. Cal Johnson, are you here? There's Cal in the back of the room. The American Fisheries Society has certified Cal as a fisheries professional. Additionally, the Alabama Wildlife Federation last week named Cal Fisheries Conservationist of the Year. Congratulations. Saritha Kumar and Alicia Phillips, please, would you please stand? There they are in the back of the room also. The Society of Freshwater Sciences has certified Saritha and Alicia as aquatic macroinvertebrate taxonomist. Excuse me, taxonomist. We are proud of you, both of you also. While I'm recognizing the recent accomplishments of some of our personnel, I'll ask Devin Jenkins from our Land Division if you would please stand up. We announced his accomplishment of earning the designation of professional engineer in the June commission meeting, but he was unable to be present. You can now see him in person, all but the lower part of his face. Congratulations again. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Alabama has approximately 60 miles of coastline and 400,000 acres of coastal bays and estuaries that support desirable residential areas, tourism, recreation, biodiversity, commercial and recreational fishing, international shipping, and many types of manufacturing and industrial activities. Maintaining a healthy, harmonious relationship among such diverse interests is a critically important endeavor. Our coastal program is the major player in providing the necessary oversight to achieve a safe, healthful, and productive balance of the various interests. ADEM implements the Comprehensive Coastal Area Management Plan developed in conjunction with the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and NOAA. The Field Operations Division oversees coastal development collaboratively with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Marine Fisheries Service, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This past year, our coastal program acted on more than 450 applications for construction, dredging, and wetland fill activities. Field Operations also monitors water quality at coastal beaches, which is a part of the overall water quality monitoring program highlighted a few moments ago. Monitoring takes place at 25 public beach locations, and the coastal program personnel take roughly 800 coastal water samples each year, as you see in this photograph. In conjunction with the Alabama Department of Public Health, the samples are analyzed and the public is quickly informed with green, yellow, or red water quality designations on our website. Most often, this information is needed after significant rain events. An important innovation noted in prior commission reports is the posting of signage directing beach and other water recreational users to up-to-the-minute information on the ADEM website regarding various types of water quality information. One additional item, I'm pleased to report that after 2 years of work, EPA awarded ADEM a $500,000 competitive grant for litter reduction. These programs will significantly benefit the coastal Alabama area. Finally, the Field Operations Division oversees the Concentrated Animal Feeding Operations, or CAFO, the regulatory program. The CAFO program began in 1999. There are approximately 1,700 CAFOs in Alabama, with about 975 currently active and being monitored. CAFOs in Alabama are primarily poultry, with a few cattle feeding operations. Alabama is the second largest poultry producer in the nation. I'm sure you've seen poultry houses similar to these as you drive around Alabama. The program covers animal feeding operations, the smaller ones, the smaller operations, and concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs, those that exceed a specified number of animals. Our state program is more protective than EPA's CAFO program. Despite being more stringent in many ways than EPA's program, the ADAM CAFO program is well accepted by agricultural interests in Alabama because it provides fair and reasonable regulation. Since it has been in place and stable for a considerable period, it provides certainty to the regulated community. That is not the case with the federal program. Complying with a strong state regulatory program reduces business risk for program participants from such things as environmental lawsuits and intrusive federal involvement that would be present if the facility were subject to weaker or non-existent state regulation. The Alabama State Legislature has considered this agricultural sector and the appropriate regulation of that sector important enough to provide earmarked funding for the department's CAFO program since the program's inception. To summarize, as you've seen, the Field Operations Division performs a wide variety of duties. Their work involves an extensive field presence, emergency response, a large volume of laboratory work, and a significant role in determining compliance with permit conditions. There's a heavy concentration of science, which is why the majority of the department's scientists are in the Field Operations Division. The division has implemented a number of innovations that help the public become better informed, increase efficiency, and protect the environment. I hope it's also apparent that EPA has a robust oversight presence that affirms the work done by this division is of extremely high quality. Scott Hughes, you in the room? There you go. Scott, stand up. Scott is our Field Operations Division Chief, and he has done an excellent job. They're the ones behind the scenes, but they put out a lot of important work, so I'd like to recognize Scott. Before concluding, I will note for the record that the department has entered into an interim consent order with 3M addressing per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances, PFAS, manufactured at the 3M facility in Decatur, Alabama. This order is the latest step in controlling the release of PFAS that began with permit limitations in 2007 and PFAS reduction plans in 2009 and 2012. It also addresses investigating and remediating contaminated sites and requires a number of environmental and toxicity studies. The interim consent order, along with possible questions and answers, is available to interested parties on the ADAM website. That concludes today's report. If there are any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Any questions or comments for the director? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next item is a report from the chair, and I have no report for today. Agenda item number 4 is consideration of adoption of proposed amendments to ADM Administrative Code 335-13, Solid Waste Program Regulations. I'd like to call on the department for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Cobb, Chief of the Land Division, and I'm here today to recommend that the Commission adopt amendments to the Department's Division 13 Solid Waste Program regulations. These amendments propose changes to Chapter 335-13-15, which is standards for the disposal of coal combustion residuals in landfills and surface impoundments. The proposed revisions to the chapter include updating the state CCR regulations to reflect modifications and clarifications that have occurred in the federal CCR program since the original adoption of ADAM's Chapter 15 regulations. Due to COVID-19, the proposed revisions to the solid waste program regulations were the subject of an extended public comment period that ran from March 22nd, 2020 to June 25th, 2020, at a public hearing which was held at the department on June 25th, 2020. Oral and written comments were received during the extended public comment period. No changes were made to the proposed regulations as a result of the comments received, and the department's response to comments has been provided to the Commission in the rulemaking packet. The The department requests that the commission adopt the proposed changes to the Division 13 regulations, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. All right, our next step would be a motion to adopt the proposed amendments. Do I have such a motion?
I move to adopt the proposed amendment.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All right, I'm gonna call for the question. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You okay with that, Liz?
You can keep them and I'll pick them up at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our next item is Unison Environmental Services versus ADEM. We have a recommendation from the hearing officer, and apparently that has been confirmed by the petitioner's counsel, that this matter is moot and a recommendation for dismissal is appropriate. Do I have a motion that we adopt the hearing officer's recommendation for dismissal?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We're gonna give this just a second to make its way around. Thank you, Mayor. All right, our next item is a consideration of a petition to amend Alabama Administrative Code 335-2-1-.12, subpoenas EMC rulemaking petition 20-01. Petitioner is the Environmental Defense Alliance. We will consider this proposed petition today. And I would remind everyone that we either can vote yes or no, but we cannot amend the petition. I'd like to call on Mr. David Lutter to come and give us his presentation. Mr. Lutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the Commission's permission, I was here 2 months ago. Well, first let me thank the commission. I inquired of the commission whether I could participate in this meeting remotely, and the offer was made to me that I could do that, and I appreciate that offer. One of the reasons that I chose to decline and to come was because 2 months ago I came here and I saw the measures that were being taken for social distancing and masking, and I was impressed. Today I'm not so impressed. The people who delivered your water glasses, 2 people, were unmasked. They were walking the hallways unmasked. And given the governor's order, I was particularly surprised at that. But so be it. That's for, I guess, the director to determine what he wants to do. This petition is the result of an experience I recently had in the prosecution of a challenge to the Dothan landfill permit, which you heard and decided several months ago. During that proceeding, I requested and was granted subpoenas to call witnesses for the hearing. The city of Dothan informed me that some of the witnesses that I had subpoenaed may not show up because I didn't tender fees for travel or attendance at the hearing. They were under the impression that I was required to tender those fees with the subpoena. Indeed, the commission's rules essentially do require that. They do require the person seeking a subpoena to tender fees. However, the statute, which supersedes your rules, says it's the it's the department's responsibility to pay fees for travel and attendance of witnesses, not the person seeking the subpoena. Case law in this state is absolutely clear that if a rule is inconsistent with the statute, the rule is invalid. The rule is a nullity. And the hearing officer agreed. I asked him for a clarification of what our responsibility was with respect to fees. I pointed out to him the statute, and he agreed it was the department's responsibility to pay those fees. And he issued a ruling to that effect. So we survived that issue in that case. But your rule remains there. And this petition seeks to amend the rule to make it consistent with the statute. We've tried painstakingly to make it say only what the statute says. And I don't think there's any question in my mind that the rule is not valid as it stands, needs to be amended to be consistent with the statute. As I pointed out in the petition, this rule was adopted in 1994. At that time, there was an effort by the department to shift responsibility for costs of hearings to persons making the requests for hearings. At that time, the department and the commission adopted the department's recommendation at that time to even shift attorney's fees to the losing party, which almost always is the party who requests the appeal. That proposal was rejected or withdrawn by the department at that time in 1994, but the proposal to shift the cost for witness travel and attendance fees did pass the commission and was adopted in 1994. And as I say, I think that it is an unlawful rule. It's a nullity. It won't survive a legal challenge. Didn't survive the hearing officer's review. And I would only ask that you grant the petition and start proceedings to amend that rule to be consistent with the statute. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
So by this, are you asking that if you have a West Coast consultant that charges X dollars per hour, the department would pay for that?
No, the witness fees are almost trivial. The travel fees are, I forget what the rates are for travel, but it's.
Nickel a mile,
Pardon me?
a nickel a mile.
Yeah, that sounds right. Nickel per mile, which is, insignificant. The other fee, I think it's a per day fee for attendance. I don't recall. Do you know what that is? It's something very insignificant.
I think it's $5, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a small amount. Nevertheless, those fees are supposed to be paid by the department. That's what the law says. You can't do less than what the law says. Any other questions?
So in other words, you're not asking for a professional fee, you're just asking for travel and the $5 per diem.
It's
And is that being denied at this time?
Not at this time, no. It was, the city of Dothan sought to have those costs shifted to the petitioners in that case. There's going to be other cases. There's going to be other situations where subpoenas are requested. As I say, it is an insignificant amount, but nevertheless, it's required to be paid by the department. You just can't leave, you really can't leave this rule on the books. You can't enforce the rule. So change it to what the law says. And it's, like I say, it's an insignificant amount. And the amount is set by law. As the commissioner said, I think it's 5 cents per mile, which is really insignificant. And the daily fee is also insignificant, but it's there. And in the case of the Dothan situation, we had already issued and served the subpoenas without tendering fees. Now, if we had been required to tender fees, we may have had to go back to the hearing officer to get a new subpoena and serve it with fees or make some other arrangement.
So why wouldn't you just submit the fee at the time you asked for the subpoena?
Well, you would under the department's current rule. That's what you should do. But that rule is invalid. So I didn't do it. I did it according to the statute. I got the hearing officer to issue a subpoena. We had the subpoena served. That's all we had to do under the statute. We didn't have to do more. And the hearing officer essentially said, those witnesses have to honor the subpoenas even without fees because it's the department's responsibility to pay the fees. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd like to call on the department's response, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Sean Sidley. I'm General Counsel for the agency. One thing that Mr. Lutter pointed out and used as an example is the commission followed the law. Your hearing officer followed the law and granted the subpoenas, irregardless of the cost. And keep in mind that this rule has been in place for 26 years. It may not be consistent with the law, but its application has been consistent. So having said all that, y'all have followed the law, even though that there's inconsistency on the rule. And one thing that I have concern about is this could be applied as worded by the EDA to expert witness fees, which, $300 an hour. Mr. Lutter says that it's not, but there are other parties that could interpret it that way. And so, in commissioner that's an attorney on the end here, he aptly pointed out, you know, that it's nominal. It's a nickel a mile. It's $1.50 per day on per diem. That's what 12-19-131 sets out, and that's a code section that applies to the courts. And so it's very nominal. The only concern we have as an agency is having to pay those exorbitant expert witness fees for other parties. And you know, the main flaw that we see in the wording of their petition to amend this rule is they don't include mileage. You know, Mr. Lutter struck out mileage. I think whenever you talk about travel costs, when the court does in the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure, travel is always accompanied by mileage. And so that's our concern. And just like Mr. Chair, as you pointed out, you can only give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down as a commission. That's our only concern about this rule as proposed, is that it could open the door.
It sounds to me that you're essentially agreeing with the basis of Mr. Lutter's petition.
It is inconsistent. It is inconsistent, but the application of it by you guys and past commissions has been consistent with the law.
With the statute.
With the statute. Your hearing officer follow the law.
So if it were, and we can't do this, but if instead of for attendance and travel, it said the cost in Code of Alabama 12-19-131, it would be appropriate.
Right, and inconsistent with Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure 45, which is the 100-mile radius requirement. In other words, you don't start paying until, you know, you're 100 miles out from where you have to appear. So having said that, we don't like the way it's worded right now. I mean, from the department's standpoint. But any other questions?
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
As we stated, all right, Mr. Lutter, would you like to speak? Sure, come on up.
It sounds like the fundamental issue is the wording that the department does not like. But the statute says what it says. The fees of witnesses for attendance and travel shall be the same as fees of witnesses before the courts of record and shall be paid from the funds of the department. It says nothing about mileage. It says travel. When I revised or suggested a revision to the department's rule, I essentially mirrored this statutory language. If you're going to tweak the statutory language, you might make a mistake. And we're entitled to have a rule that reflects what the statute requires. The statutory language is on page 3 of the petition. And you can read that for yourselves. It says nothing about mileage. It says travel. And we've used the exact same words in the proposed rule. So, again, I would suggest that you not deviate from the statutory language. It's pretty clear.
Mr. Sigley, do you have any other?
Yes, sir. You know, take issue with Mr. Lutter. You, as a commission, y'all have the authority to implement and to promulgate rules to implement this statute. So, and y'all done that earlier in that regulation as to what you evaluate as to whether or not you grant subpoenas or not. And it says that you may grant subpoenas. You don't have to. In other words, that's discretionary. It's up to y'all as a commission through your hearing officer to do that. And so for Mr. Lutter to say that you don't have the authority to refine that, I think that I disagree with that. You do. And you know, and the reason why we have a concern, because there was another appeal that was pending that y'all heard about the same time as the Dothan landfill permit appeal. And during that appeal, one of the attorneys for that environmental organization made the proposal that we pay expert witness fees for their expert. And that's our concern, you know, under the wording right now. Now, Mr. Lutter may say on behalf of his client that, no, that's not what they mean. Well, I think there may be another organization that may feel different. So as far as we're concerned, mileage is used consistently in the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure, along with travel, in that code section 1219-131. And even though the APA, which is the Alabama Administrative Procedures Act, even though it doesn't apply, that part of the APA is carved out for the department and for the commission. But it is consistent too. So one of the things that Mr. Letter also mentioned, that in 1994, when this rule was amended, it was a loser pay. But also what it did is it made it consistent with the Rules of Civil Procedure. It made it consistent with the statute that applies to the courts. And so that, you know, so to say that it's totally out of line, it's not out of line. It's consistent with the Rules of Civil Procedure, the statute that applies to the courts and costs. Now, we admit that it doesn't follow the letter of the law in the Alabama Environmental Management Act, which, by the way, was passed in 1982. The Rules of Civil Procedure were later refined later, and then the Alabama Administrative Procedures Act was adopted later. So you got to remember, this wording precedes those other laws. So to say that it was purely as a result of loser pays in 1994 is not necessarily accurate. So
So are you saying that the 82 version was superseded by the 94 version, so that is what takes precedence?
well, no, you know, when you look at the provision in the Management Act, it says what it says, but it also makes reference to what the courts do. And what, you know, as far as what the courts do has changed over time, okay? And so to answer your question, no, the statute, the Management Act says what it says, but what it refers to has changed over time. So,
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Lutter or Mr. Sidney?
I got a question for Mr. Lutter. I guess, this, you mentioned that this issue was instigated by the Dothan. Has this happened before? I mean, I'm sure this is not the first time that you've had hearings and subpoenas and the like. I mean, I've only been on the commission a short period of time, but I certainly get the impression that you've been active in.
I'm trying to recall,
Just curious.
yeah, I've had a number of appeals, and I believe in at least one other appeal, I've secured subpoenas for witnesses. I don't recall this coming up. I believe in that case, if my memory is right, I believe I actually did tender fees with the subpoenas. You know, essentially not knowing or not reviewing the statute
I understand.
at that time. I just went by the rule. The issue is it's going to come up again. I guarantee it. I mean, I'm going to be filing more appeals on behalf of my clients, and I'm sure that we're going to be subpoenaing witnesses. And there's no point in going through this exercise. You know, really the essential difference, I mean, the statutory language refers to the fees that are required by the courts. So anyone who applies this language is going to have to look to what the courts do, you know, as far as how much they're entitled to and what they're entitled to. They're going to have to look at those court requirements. The issue really here is who's going to pay the fee. The statute says the department has to pay it. The rule says the person seeking the subpoena has to pay it. And that's what the hearing officer said. The hearing officer said, no, it's not the person asking for the subpoena, it's the department. The hearing officer said, witnesses are going to have to comply with the subpoenas, and if the witnesses want, they can come back to the department later and essentially invoice the department for the fees. That's really the issue, who pays. I don't think it's an issue of what's required and what, I mean, this issue about paying experts, I think, is a red herring, because the statute says you look to the court requirements, and the court requirements don't require payment of expert witness fees in terms of travel and attendance. I should say that, and perhaps I'm misspeaking on that. I think there is some, in some situations, an expert witness can be required to pay for, or a person can be required to, the courts can require an expert witness to pay, can require a party to pay for an expert witness's time in some cases, for depositions, certainly. This is testimony. This is like trial testimony. And if there's a clarification that they want to make to exclude expert witnesses, that's fine. That's not our intention. But the intention here is to shift who pays. That's all. That's all our intention is, shift who pays. In the case of Dothan, there were the experts that were subpoenaed. There was no intention to make them recover expert witness fees, and I'm sure they didn't invoice the department for expert witness fees. The only discussion at the time was how much does it cost, how far do you have to travel, and how much do you pay per day. And those are nominal amounts. As I said, the only real issue is who pays. Not so much, I don't think we have a disagreement about what is to be paid for. Just simple mileage and simple attendance fee.
Lanier, can I get your comments on what you're thinking at this point?
I get paid a lot for my thoughts. I mean, it's obviously inconsistent, the rule versus the statute, and the statute would prevail. And as I understand it, the department has followed the statute, except in this one instance in the Dothan matter. Is that correct?
Well, Your Honor, Commissioner, you as a commission, your hearing officer followed the law when they issued the subpoenas. So, again, y'all have applied it consistently, so they followed the law, or the hearing officer did. So, if that answers your question.
The question I have is, if we amend this, what's to prevent someone from California or New York or whatever submitting and demanding payment for his expert witness fees? That's very concerning to me.
Well, and that's
Or
what
first
even
class
Mr.
airfare.
Letter, I'm sorry.
Or his first class airfare.
Right. And I think Mr. Letter acknowledged that y'all could probably change the rule and say no expert witness fees, or, that would be within your property to do that. So that's just the concern that the department has. It's not so much that the department's worrying about paying nominal witness fees, nickel a mile, $1.50 per diem. It's the $300 per hour, and that's the issue that we have. And so, and again, that came up in another case, not really related to subpoenas, but it came up. And counsel for that one party was like, how do we invoice the department, for $300 an hour for an expert witness? That's our concern.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, we have a choice, a very clear choice. We can either initiate rulemaking proceedings, or we can deny the petition and state why we're denying it. Are there any other questions or comments before we decide this question? Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion from the commission to either refer to rulemaking or deny the petition. Do I have a motion? Don't everybody speak at once.
I motion that we deny the petition. Do I need to explain why? Is that what
You
you
can't
said?
do that.
Well, I think the wording of the petition causes me concern. And therefore, I motion that we deny the petition.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
A motion and a second were made. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Which is the quicker way, assuming this was going to be adopted to, revised, that Mr. Lutter's proposal was going to be altered to to address the department's concern, would it be quicker to deny this and let Mr. Lutter refile another one, or to go to rulemaking? You can answer. Somebody. Both of you.
Commissioner Brown, I think the only option you have is to approve or deny this rule. If you
Yeah,
choose to,
okay.
if you choose to deny it, I think you can encourage the department and Mr. Lutter to get together and come up with something different.
That's consistent with my thinking. I just didn't know if I could promote that.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I was asking, there's, if we denied and then it was represented and brought straight to the commission, would we be able to act quicker than if we sent it through the rulemaking committee?
I'll let you go ahead.
If you were to grant this petition, what you do is you propose a rule. You don't
Right.
adopt a rule. You merely propose it. In that proposal process, you can take suggested revisions. The department can comment, we suggest a different wording. Then, when it comes time, you adopt a rule, either the rule as proposed or as revised. So you can grant the petition, go to hearing on this proposed rule, take comments to revise it, and then adopt the revision. That would be the most expedient way to get there.
Thank you. Well, we have a motion and a second.
I would like to respond to that if I could.
Oh, sure.
If that's all right. One thing that Mr. Lutter didn't mention is that if it's substantially changed from the way he worded it now, which I don't expect it to be, but it could be, then it changes the complexion of it, and then you would need to start over anyway. So I would offer up that probably the best thing to do is to, if you deny it here, then just ask the department to come up with another proposal. It'll go out on public notice. Mr. Lutter, as well as the public, will have input into what it is. And then, if y'all want us to get up with Mr. Lutter, we'll have it in play, and it'll be just like we want it. So I would offer up that if you deny it today, you could ask the department to submit a petition for rulemaking. I think it, depending on what it says, it would probably be quicker to do that. That's my opinion. But
So I think both parties are correct. I think it has to be whatever you come up with after, if you were to allow this rule to go through rulemaking, whatever your final rule is, has to be a logical outgrowth of the original rule. If it's substantially different, Mr. Silby's right, you have to start over. So it's really up to you.
Yeah, I just wanted days. You know, I would just think about time,
Right.
not procedural or substance.
Okay.
But the rules should be consistent with the statute.
Yep.
I do like the idea of what Sean said about, I like the idea of the department taking the lead and instigating it and eliminating these inconsistencies.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, the only question we have is an up or down vote. We could suggest that the department, initiate some talks with various parties and see if they can come up with something, and if so, we will certainly look at that. But today, our only objective is to either vote yes, please send it to rulemaking, or no, deny the petition. We have a motion to deny the petition and a second. Are there any further discussions or any further motions?
I do have a question. When it goes to rulemaking, what does that mean? So when it goes to rulemaking, that extends the process, the length of time. What does it mean when you say
Well,
that?
we have a personnel committee and we have a rulemaking committee. So they would submit it to the rulemaking committee, who would have hearings, have public comment, and then if they decided that a rule needed to be made, they would make it, and then there's a whole list of steps after that before it could actually become a rule. That's sort of a simplified version. Is that, am I correct in saying that? It's not just it's not a simple process, for sure, but it's not unworkable either. All right, well, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor of the motion to deny the petition, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Okay. And again, we invite you all to get together and try to come up with some facility language.
I would like to.
I think when I first started speaking, I solved the problem. So hopefully y'all can, everybody can be happy with that.
Okay. All right, is there any other business that needs to come before the commission?
Chair Miller, I need to get y'all to sign the order for that
Yes,
position.
we'll wait and get that done.
The new front page, and that's the signature page.
Are we missing one signature on this thing? No, not that, the one I just gave. No, okay. Very good.
Want to check the record?
Well, I just see five signatures. No, there's, okay, sorry. I didn't see the business. All right, good. All right, our next meeting is scheduled for October the 9th, 2020. Is there anyone that has a conflict with that date that you know of at this point?
Negative.
Okay. We have, we're expecting everyone to be here on October the 9th. We have no one registered for the public comment period. So, in that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.